Hello and welcome. I am Deji Badimasi. Now, the National Industrial Court sitting in Abuja has ordered the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Asuu, to call off its strike and go back to the classroom. The strike, which has lasted for 7 months now, has left students now with no choice but to sit at home and wait for the federal government and Asuu to come to a reasonable solution to the months-long crisis. As a result of the situation, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, on behalf of the federal government, had to file a suit before the court by way of referral. Now, counsel to the federal government, in his submission before the court, argued that the application for interlocutory injunction was brought in pursuance to the rules of the court. He says the Trade Dispute Act states that the workers should not embark on strike when a matter is already before the court. He therefore urged the court to grant the injunction. But counsel to the defendant, this time Asuu, submitted that the minister lacks the power to order the court in the referral to direct Asuu to call off its strike. While dismissing objections Asuu raised through its lawyer, the court held that the strike action is detrimental to public university students that cannot afford to attend private tertiary institutions, thereby ordering the lecturers to resume work immediately while the matter is being resolved by the court. But it seems the lecturers are not satisfied with this ruling, as they have gone ahead to prepare their appeal in a higher court. Joining me now to discuss this further, I have the chairman of Asuu Unilag chapter, Dr. Dele Asuu. Doc, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
The court order came just a couple of days ago. Are you back at work now?
How can?
Well, the reason I asked is because the court order was unequivocal, saying that you should return to work.
Well, thank you very much for this invitation. First, let me also say unequivocally that it was not the court that started our strike. We looked at our past experiences with government, and on the basis of that, we decided to start what we called a rolling strike for 4 weeks, thinking that 4 weeks was enough for government to put its ass together and resolve the crisis before it festers. Unfortunately, for the first 4 weeks, government did nothing. 8 weeks extension, nothing. 12, nothing. And then a number of, conciliatory efforts here and there also didn't yield any result. And all that we get is for the Minister of Labour, who himself agreed that the Ministry of Education, who ought to be the one to apprehend this crisis, have failed in doing that, only to drag us to court. And then we are getting this, what we have described as a Jankara order, because two parties are in dispute over an agreement we freely entered into.
This is a lawful court order, so I don't think it's wise to describe it as Jankara. I mean, it's a lawful court order. The court is recognized by the Constitution and actually has the power to issue that order.
Well, yes, you are right to some extent. But if we talk about law for who and in whose interests? Well, where were the law courts?
But the point is, whether or not you agree with the ruling, it's still the law and it's the judgment of the court. Yeah. So why would you not want to obey it?
No, but the law also provides us the ample opportunity to appeal, which is what we are doing.
Okay.
And also within a specific period of time, the law also provides that we could apply for a stay of execution. So
yeah, but pending when that stay is granted and pending when you file the appeal, you're supposed to obey first the ruling of the court.
No, please. The court itself gave a window within a period, except we didn't act within those periods granted by the law itself and the procedures of the court. That's only when, we can be compared. The court is not a fascist institution whose, words will be law, just like that. And
but of course, that's what the court is. So whatever the court says is the law. And
but this government also is not known This government is not known to obey the same court.
But the truth is, well, if the government does not obey the court, does it mean you then should not obey the court?
No, I have not said that. What I've only told you is that the law, the court, provides a window of opportunity to appeal a ruling. It's only a ruling. It's not even a judgment.
And let's exactly. This is just a ruling. It's a ruling on an interlocutory injunction. So the substantive case is still before the court, and the court says it is going to hear that. So this is quite understandable. But the court, what the court has said is that, look, pending when we begin hearing on the case, that the law, the labor dispute law in this country says you should revert to status quo, which is what the court has done. So why would Asuu not comply with that ruling?
Well, Asuu has not said it's not complying. What Asuu is saying is that that ruling is questionable. The judge himself, a vacation one at that, gave a ruling and sent back the file to the registrar to reassign that case. That also should tell you that, I mean, the judge has come to do a hatchet job. And
well,
a law must serve the interest of justice.
There's no proof for that.
A law must serve the interest of justice, not the dictates, the whims and caprices of those who are in government. And that's our argument. And the law also provides that we have a window to appeal. And such rulings have been appealed in the past. So I really don't think that, I mean, this is a big deal. We are going to file our papers to a higher court. And, I mean, the courts will take it from there. Since government now wants to fight its battle, you know, in the courtroom.
What is wrong in obeying the court judgment and still go ahead to file your appeal?
Yeah, we have not said we are not obeying court judgment. What we are simply saying is that we are dissatisfied with the ruling and that we are going to appeal.
Well, the Minister of Labour has said that the government is going to direct the universities, the university authorities now to reopen schools, public universities now across the country. What's your take on that?
Well,
on the basis of the court ruling?
He should go ahead, and then he himself will come and teach in all the public universities in Nigeria.
But tell me, why is it so difficult for you to reach an agreement with the government? What exactly is the sticking point? Why is it difficult to resolve this?
No, you see, it's not that it's difficult for us to resolve with government. The way to frame the question is that why is it difficult for government, you know, to implement an agreement it freely entered into? I think that is the crucial question. Since 2009, government signed an agreement with our union. We have embarked on more than 10 strikes between 2009 and today to get government to implement that agreement. Up till as I'm speaking with you, that agreement is still being implemented in breach. In that same agreement, there is a proviso that either of the party can call for a review of that agreement within 3 years. This is the 13th year. We succeeded in getting the agreement renegotiated with Professor Nimi Briggs, only for government to reject and throw away in its entirety, you know, the document submitted by Nimi Briggs. So what is at the heart of the issue is that government is deliberately impoverishing those who teach in public universities in Nigeria, and also deliberately destroying public universities so that their own universities that they have established will draw patronage from the students in public universities. Look,
let's look at the side of the government, what the government has said. You know, the government has not denied that there is, of course, a report. You did talk about the Nimi Briggs report. The government has not denied that report is in existence. But what the government is saying is that, look, it cannot afford what you're asking. Is it not possible for you to reach some kind of compromise and probably, if possible, for want of a better word now, lower your demand a bit, and then, you know, you reach a middle ground, so to speak, so that this can be resolved, rather than sticking to your gun and insisting that the agreement has to be implemented to the letter?
Asuu is not saying that the agreement should be implemented to the letter. In fact,
Okay.
Asuu has always conceded to government. And that's why the strikes have remained, seemingly persistent. We start a strike, government will make promises, will say, okay, we believe you, and then we go back to work, and all of a sudden, you find government reneging. And they do that with brazen insensitivity. Look, as I speak with you, the highest paid professor in public universities in Nigeria earns less than 500,000 naira in a month. Change that to $1 since our economy is being dollarized. How much does that amount to? And in the document that we submitted to government concerning our conditions of service, we only suggested to government an African average. We are not even asking about, best practices all over the world in terms of our conditions of service. To add to that, government says it doesn't have money. And I pose another question. So what does government have money to do? The roads are in shambles. The clinics are bad. The doctors are old. Insecurity is rampant. Education is in shambles. The entire country the people are suffering. So what did we vote government to do? So government must become, and government is saying that it doesn't have money. They donated money to Afghanistan, donated money to Niger, donated money to God knows who, and yet Nigeria, people in Nigeria who own the wealth.
Now let me ask you this:
are daily suffering.
At some point, we got this impression that, look, all the issues would appear to have been resolved, so to speak. That what the sticking point is the issue of no work, no pay, where the government insisted that it was not going to pay you, you lecturers now, for those periods, the 7 months or 6 months that you have not worked. Is that what the sticking point is?
No.
At this time?
You see, unfortunately, we have public officers who feed Nigerians with lies. Look, I say without any fear of contradiction that not one item on our charter of demand had been successfully addressed by this government in spite of the lies by the Minister of Education. Look, let me start from conditions of service. The government is yet to completely renegotiate and sign the 2009 agreement. The main reason why we went on strike, government is still keeping us on the now fraudulent and very discredited IPPIS scheme. Recall when we started the agitation against IPPIS. Now, some government apologists in Nigeria were telling us an employee cannot dictate how an employer will pay him and all that. Today, our union is vindicated because the chief apostle of IPPIS, how much is he allegedly to have stolen from Nigerian people? 109 billion in a country where government says it doesn't have money. When they imported toxic fuel into Nigeria by their friends and cronies, they looked for money anywhere to clear the toxicity they created for the Nigerian people. Where did they get the money? Has government declared austerity measure? The cost of governance in Nigeria is the highest in Africa, if not in the world. And they say they don't have money to fund tertiary education for millions of Nigerian children. It's about priority. And let me also tell you, always contained in our agreement are innovative and creative ways of funding tertiary education in Nigeria. But rather than read the report, read what has been written, we have leaders in Nigeria who hardly read. They read on their behalf, and it is what those who read on their behalf draw their attention to that they choose to see. So the issue actually is government's insensitivity and unwillingness, to do what is right in the interest of the Nigerian people.
Let me ask you this before I let you go. Look, we can't count the number of times Asuu has gone on strike in this country.
We can count.
No, it's you understand what I mean, literally.
The number may be huge, but
I'm
we can
speaking
count.
literally now. But the point is, look, it's like a never-ending issue, especially with the issue of university funding. And I'm happy you said, look, in the documents that you submitted to government, contained in those documents now are suggestions on how to fund universities. Don't you think at this time, looking at the future from now going forward, so that we don't have to just end the strike once and for all, so that down the line we don't have Asuu going on strike again? Don't you think we need to rethink this whole idea of university funding in this country? Should the government continue to fund universities, public universities especially?
Yes.
Don't you think there should be a radically different approach?
Yeah, the radical different approach is that government should prioritize, funding of education. Let government take the lead. Look, you cannot leave your roof leaking and expect people to come and be the mason that will be helping you to mend it. What needs to be done is that government must first invest in education. That is what is done in civilized societies.
You don't think universities should just be given the autonomy to run the system themselves, raise the money and raise the funding they need to run their universities?
Yeah, but government must take the lead. Even in universities where people cite Ivy League universities, they get, large government funding in terms of research, in terms of, innovation, funding for innovation. Look, Nigerians benefit more from research grants in South Africa than in Nigeria. How do you run a university like that? And go and check, even the research fund in South Africa and all of those are state-directed funding. When government takes the lead, the universities are repositioned in such a way that it becomes globally competitive. When universities are globally competitive, people come from outside. Nigerians go outside. Why is it that people don't come from outside to come here? As a student at the University of Lagos, I had foreigners, in my class. Today, who are the category of students that we teach, even in UNILAG today? So what we are saying is that government must first reposition the university. Government gave bailout to theater arts practitioners a few years ago. Government gave bailouts to banks. Government gave bailouts to oil companies who are today stealing government, the people's oil. Why can't government give bailout to universities in a bid to reposition them to be globally competitive and to be self-sustaining? Look, so what we're up to is a political elite, a ruinous political elite, whose concern is not for the development of this society. Because if they have the interest of this society, they know that societies that are making progress today invested heavily, state investment in education first, as a prelude to whatever other funding arrangement that we may desire, to put up. As I speak with you, it is clear that we are up against a government whose interest is not in tertiary education. All
right. Dr. Dele Ashiru, thank you very much for coming on the program, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much for this invitation.
For me, the most important thing is, look, our university should reopen.
Yeah.
Let our students go back. But of course, I share your concerns as well, because the lecturers deserve to get their wage.
But with terms, under what condition?
Yeah, I understand. Let's just hope that now that the National Assembly has waded into the matter, that it will be resolved as quickly as possible, and that you all will go back to work, and our students can come back and complete their studies. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for this invitation. It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you so very much. All right, we'll take a short break, but we're not done with the discussion. We're still going to continue with that court ruling on ordering Asuu now to return to work. We're going to be talking to a lawyer next, so don't go away. Stay with us.